The first thing the princess noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful silence of sanctuaries or meditation chambers, but the strained, watching quiet that followed violence, like the universe itself holding its breath to see who would remain standing. The arena lay beneath a fractured sky, its hexagonal shields humming faintly as they struggled to compensate for the atmospheric instability of the moon, Carax's 9. Above, storm lightning crawled sideways through violet clouds, illuminating tiers of alien spectators whose biology demanded distance from one another. Creatures of chitin, light, fluid, and geometry all gathered for a ritual older than any of them. The rite of ascendancy. Princess Sailthira of House Vare had attended it since childhood. She had watched champions enhanced by exoskeletal grafts, neural accelerators, gravitational harnesses, and ancestral symbiotes tear one another apart in displays meant to prove worthiness for alliance, breeding contracts, or conquest. She had learned long ago not to flinch, but today something was wrong, because one of the combatants stood alone at the center of the arena, unarmed, no plasma blade, no gravitic field, no visible augmentation, just a human. He looked impossibly fragile under the arena lights. Bare arms exposed, musculature dense but unadorned, skin marked with scars that were not ceremonial, not cosmetic, but earned. Old fractures, healed burns, the pale white lattice of tissue that spoke of survival without regeneration tanks. The crowd murmured. Sensors flared. Betting algorithms recalibrated. The other combatant stepped forward. A Korath vanguard, 8 feet tall, quad-limbed, armor fused directly to bone, a living weapon bred across generations for ritualized annihilation. Its blade arms unfolded with a sound like tearing metal, energy fields shimmering along their edges. Sailthira felt the familiar detachment settle in her chest. This would be over quickly. That was when the human looked up, not at the crowd, not at the royal viewing spire, but at the sky, as if measuring it, as if remembering something that had nothing to do with this place. The signal to begin echoed through the arena. The Korath charged. It moved with terrifying efficiency, mass accelerated by internal gravitic nodes, each step cracking the arena floor. The first strike should have ended it. Any unshielded being should have been bisected where they stood. The human moved. Not fast, not spectacularly. Just enough. He stepped inside the arc of the blade, too close for the weapon to adjust. One bare hand caught the armored limb, not stopping it, not overpowering it, but redirecting it with a subtle shift of angle and timing. The crowd gasped. Princess Sailthira leaned forward. The human twisted using the vanguard's own momentum. Bone met armor. The impact echoed like thunder. The Korath stumbled, confused more than wounded. Confusion was fatal. The human did not roar, did not posture. He flowed, each movement an answer to the last threat, each breath controlled, deliberate. He used the arena itself, debris, gravity, missteps. When he struck, it was precise. When he endured, it was absolute. The fight lasted 93 seconds. When it ended, the Korath vanguard lay motionless, armor cracked, neural nodes overloaded by kinetic feedback. Not dead, but defeated. The human stood over it, chest heaving, blood running from a gash along his ribs. He did not celebrate. He only closed his eyes for a moment, as if mourning something unseen. The silence broke into chaos, but Princess Sailthira heard none of it, because something ancient and dangerous had awakened in her chest. Choice. The human's name, she would learn later, was Elias Thorn Taddanaleowalis. He had not been meant to fight. That was the first anomaly. Humans were not contenders in the rite of ascendancy. Their species had been catalogued as persistently adaptable, but strategically insignificant. valuable as labor, occasionally as mercenaries, rarely as diplomats, never as symbols. Yet Elias Thorne had entered the arena not through sponsorship or conquest, but necessity. A derelict human exploration vessel, the Pale Horizon, had been intercepted in Carax's space 3 cycles prior. Its crew was gone, its databanks fragmented. Elias had been found in cryostasis, the sole survivor of a mission that should have ended 2 centuries earlier. Temporal drift, relativistic displacement, bureaucratic indifference. He had awakened in a universe that no longer remembered his world. His Earth, though still extant, was distant, altered, culturally unrecognizable. The agencies that might have repatriated him no longer existed. His language was preserved only in translation matrices. His military credentials were ceremonial relics. When asked what he wanted, Elias had said, "To earn a place where I stand." The Caraxes Council, amused, had offered him the right: no weapons, no augmentations. Survive or disappear quietly. Selthira had not been present for that decision. If she had been, she wondered now whether she would have stopped it, or whether her heart had already chosen. She requested an audience immediately after the match. Protocol resisted her. Advisors hesitated. Cultural safeguards activated. She overrode them all. Princess Selthira entered the medical bay where Elias was being treated. Automated drones sealing wounds. Nanofibers knitting tissue the old-fashioned way, without enhancement. He lay still, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, as if expecting it to fall. He turned his head when she entered. Their gazes met. She felt it again, that quiet force, like gravity finding its center. "You fought without hate," she said, her translator rendering the subtleties of her tonal language into careful human syllables. Elias considered her. "I fought to stay," he replied. "Hate wastes energy." That answer unsettled her more than any display of dominance. She dismissed the drones. Silence reclaimed the room. "You could have requested a weapon," she said. "I could have," he agreed. "Why didn't you?" He flexed his fingers slowly, as if reacquainting himself with their presence. "Because weapons end fights," he said. "I needed to survive the aftermath." She did not understand at first. Then she did. Survival was not the same as victory, and humans, it seemed, knew the difference intimately. Over the cycles that followed, Selthira found reasons to be near him. Officially, she was assessing a diplomatic anomaly. Unofficially, she was studying a mystery that refused to be catalogued. Elias walked the corridors of the spire like a ghost that had not realized it was dead. He paused before observation windows, watching stars with a familiarity that bordered on grief. He spoke little, but when he did, his words carried weight, as if each had survived some internal selection process. She learned of Earth through his memories, of oceans that sang in wavelengths Caraxes could not reproduce, of cities layered atop ruins, each generation building forward without ever fully understanding what lay beneath, of a species that broke itself repeatedly and called it progress, then stitched itself back together out of stubborn hope. She told him of her people, of a civilization built on harmony through hierarchy, of choices made collectively but enforced absolutely, of love defined as function, lineage, and balance. They spoke of extinction, of legacy, of whether survival without meaning was still survival. One cycle, standing together beneath the artificial dawn of the Spire Gardens, Elias asked her, "What happens if I win the ride completely?" She hesitated. "Then you would be bound," she said, "to Houseware, to our future." "And if I refuse?" She met his eyes. "Then you would be alone again." He nodded slowly. Alone was something he understood. The final right was not combat. It was revelation. Hidden beneath the spire lay the Continuum Vault, a relic from a civilization older than the Caraxes themselves, a place where species that stood on the edge of extinction once made a choice: remain what you are, and fade, or become something more. The vault interfaced directly with consciousness, rewriting neural architecture, extending perception beyond linear time, fusing individual identity with collective awareness. Ascension. Most who entered did not return. Those who did were changed. Sylthera was meant to undergo the rite alone. She chose otherwise. When the vault opened, Elias stepped forward beside her. "I don't know what I'll become," he said quietly. She reached for his hand. "Neither do I," she replied. "But I know what we would lose." The light swallowed them. Time ceased to be a direction. Elias felt himself unravel, memories unfolding into probability, pain reframed as data, love as structure rather than sensation. He saw humanity not as a species, but as a pattern. Fragile, recursive, endlessly adaptive. He saw Sailthira not as royalty, but as convergence, a node where futures intersected. He could let go. He could become something eternal. He chose not to forget. When they emerged, the universe felt wider, not conquered, understood. The signal came days later. Human vessels, long-range, ancient designs, answering a beacon Elias had unknowingly broadcast through the vault. Survivors, colonies thought lost, a diaspora still alive. The Caraxes Council watched in silence as the princess stood beside the unarmed human who had changed everything. Sylthera felt her heart steady, not claimed, chosen. Elias looked out at the stars. Not as a relic, not as a weapon, but as a bridge. The future would be uncertain, but it would not be alone. And for the first time in centuries, humanity was not asking to be spared. It was being invited.